This video will take away some of your anxiety, where you might be worrying about or concerned if the plant's going to produce, or why is it doing this, or why it don't have squash on it as of yet. I've been growing squash for a while, and I still have those concerns. Because, there are things that can go wrong. So, that's what this video is about. And to promote this wonderful plant, Argonaut squash, also known as butternut, and you might want to call it giant butternut. There's some other big varieties. I've seen some big butternut squash, but kind of hard to get them. They're not commonplace. I've never seen a 20 or 30 pound one. That's something that this squash claims to be able to grow that big. But, and one thing I notice here is you can see that of the single vine, and that vine went all the way from there, this just one particular plant, all the way from that little storage unit to here. And man, that is about roughly, I would say about 20 feet, roughly 20 feet. But along the way, it puts out little side shoots. On each vine, it has a bunch of side shoots, so it's very prolific. Yeah, so at this point, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I'm not worried about it. You can see here on the side of the storage unit, those vines. Yeah, I got a pokeweed plant here. It's reaching for that. It's already climbing up that pokeweed bush right there. There's a vine. That vine went underneath the pokeweed, and by nature, they would naturally seek out the more sunshine areas. So I haven't adjusted any of these plants. I just let them run. I got the space, let them run. If you have the space, let them run. Don't clip them back. Let them do what they do. I did hear some people on the internet talk about, taking off spent leaves like that over there, leaves that are brown and all that, but you don't have to do that. Because the plant, man, it's a living organism. I don't know what type of intellectual facilities this plant has, but it's going to do what it's going to do. It will abort unproductive branches, leaves, whatever. It'll take care of that. The squash borer, which is a very destructive pest, and I've seen a couple out here in my garden on 2 different occasions. Yesterday I saw one, and back when it was just starting to kind of get itself established, I saw one. But this type of squash borer cannot drastically affect it. Like I say, I'm still learning about this plant, but the truth of the matter is the squash borer just cannot defeat it. It has some defenses. It has little hairs. Let's see if I can show that here. Yeah, you might be able to see some little fuzzy looking hairs there. Those little hairs may not seem like too much to us humans, but for a maggot or a worm trying to crawl on that, or especially a snail, something with a real soft body, and even other types of bugs, may not find that very comfortable. So it does have a defense mechanism. It has, the leaves are hollow on the inside. You know, the big leaves are hollow, which I guess a little bug could penetrate that. But to what avail? Because even though that stalk is hollow, it's got some little fuzzy hairs on it too, as you can see there. Even though it's hollow, when it gets down to that stalk, it's a real dense, thick, woody green stalk. It's green, it's vegetable matter, but it's very thick. And you got those little hairs, so it's almost impossible for the average little bug to gain entry into the vines of the squash like they do something, say, like Hubbard. They can wipe Hubbard out. Zucchini is resistant. You don't have to worry about squash borer when you're growing zucchini squash or yellow squash. They can handle it. They can handle an infestation and still keep growing because the bug can eat into the zucchini squash or the yellow squash. It will split open, and it's enough fibers in there to where the vine won't suffer damage. You know, as far as stopping growing or bleeding out or nothing like that. It just will allow the bug to complete its cycle and it continues to grow. But if you're growing something like those specialty varieties, another one that's very resistant to the squash borer is cushaw pumpkin, or cushaw squash. That one, it grows just like these vines. It takes up a lot of space, but it's a very prolific plant. You gotta have space, and it's worth it. If you're gonna grow some of it, put it down, plant it good, let it grow. You have enough to last the rest of the year, the whole season. It's a winter squash variety. You can plant it a little bit earlier than this one. It does not have as long a growing season as this one. This one here has a long growing season, and even though I got squash out here right now, believe me, I'm still praying that they can put on the rest. This is mid-August, just about mid-August, first couple of weeks of August. And I'm praying that it can set fruit and then fully cure, ripen, before the frost hits in sometime late October around this area. We normally have a freeze, and the freeze will kill this. The fruit, the vines, all of that. Depending on how cold it is, it will either damage it severely or it'll wipe it out completely. Either way, I don't want any fruit on the ground when that time comes. So right now we're looking at the rest of August, September, and at least the first couple of weeks of October should be hot. Usually, I've been around here about 20 years. I'm originally from Houston. This is Central Texas. And usually we don't have that type of freeze until late October. It's almost guaranteed to have one good freeze in late October around this area. But I think we're gonna be safe. It's gonna be close. Because when they say this squash needs 140 days, it needs all of that. And ideally, I would plant it as early in the spring as possible, and to guarantee that you're gonna be in good shape. Then your harvest will probably come in, September, late August. But you'll miss out on the freeze. Won't be no danger of the freeze. So that's something to consider when you're planting Argonaut squash. It needs 140 days. It's just the way it is. I probably stated it before, but my mother and I planted this squash variety. She had one plant. I think she planted two, but one of them actually survived. And it needed every bit of that 140 days, which is roughly 4 months, maybe 4.5 months, to fully, to come to fruition, ripen. They have to ripen in the sun. So if it's cold, man, it's going to be difficult for them to ripen. If they don't ripen, then you don't have nothing, because unless you eat them green and immatured, which I don't think that's a good idea from our experiences. Mama took them and cut them up and froze them, and they just funky. Okay, that's the best way I can say it. They were not designed for that purpose. They were designed to sustain nutritious value through the winter. That's what they for. This is what you go and put out and cook for your family and eat through the winter months when there's not food available. Most food's not available, maybe greens and stuff like that, which is very nutritious. But this stuff here is also nutritious, and it's a wintertime food. So this is what's going on right now, and I'm still very proud of my results, the results I'm having. I did not produce these seeds. I give my hats off to the producers. I can't remember. As soon as I find out for sure if it's Gurney, if it's Baker's Creek, one of those producers produced this, and I will give credit where credit is due. I did not produce them. It's a hybrid. And I don't know what they mix it with or how they bred it, to come out as large as they come out and as prolific as they come out. And they, with these long vines, 20, 30 foot long vines, man, and then all of the side shoots, which each one of them are capable of producing the maximum amount of fruit. It's just, this is what you use if you got a large family and they all like this kind of squash, and there's certainly several ways you can make it where they would like it. So this is a godsend, and right now that's what I'm promoting. Nobody's paying me to do this. It's part of my own personal research, observation, and experience, and then I'm sharing this with you guys who are considering, because I have not seen very many videos online about Argonaut squash. I've seen one, actually. There's been more, but this one person actually took the time to film the growth and production of their squash, and which is what I'm doing right now. But theirs was confined to a small area. Mine is just being allowed to sprawl because I got the space. Basically, this is my backyard at the place that I'm living right now. And if you can see where that lawnmower line is, that's the next door lot. That goes all the way up to a fence line. Basically, this squash has taken about a half to 1/3 of my backyard. And I'm okay with that. Hopefully one day I'll have me a 3 to 5 acres, maybe 10, of land that I can just go out and sow seed and just let them do what they're gonna do, I'll probably sell what I don't need or give it away. I'll give away some, sell some, and eat some. You know, but this is all that, man, in a bowl of rice. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of freaking out about it, so y'all excuse me for that. But it's doing what it's supposed to do. And as I said, I was going to take videos in between, the growth cycle so I can record and document what it's doing. It's doing exactly what the producers promised. It's not lagging behind. It's nothing dysfunctional about it. Uh, it has a cycle of events and the cycles of growth that will occur through the natural process of growing. It's nothing abnormal about it. It dropping fruit, it's a normal process. Uh, Flowering, so far, attracting bees, male flowers, female flowers. This whole system is, I have to say, ordained by God. Yes, I do believe in God. I ain't ashamed of it. It's an intelligent design system. And that could not happen through just random. No, it could not. The chances of it happening through a random type of event is like, to say the least, finding a needle in a haystack, And I'm talking about a huge haystack. It's possible you could find it if you had a lifetime to dedicate to doing it, but and for all practical purposes, you would not find a needle in a haystack. It just wouldn't happen. It's like finding one grain of sand on the beach with a specific chemical makeup, or one single star in the sky with a specific characteristic. Oh, come on, we ain't crazy here, okay? These things just don't happen. This is a result of intelligent design. So when you grow this plant, you can be assured that if it gets what it needs, water, proper soil, you can't grow plants without soil. Hydroponics. But that I have not gained that technology as of yet, and I don't have those expertise, nor do I have the facilities to do that. So, just growing things the good old-fashioned way here in the ground. This plant will perform in the way that I have described and observed. And so I would be a strong advocate for you planting this if you enjoy butternut squash as much as I do. I think later on I will add to this video line how to cook it. Some of my favorite recipes, which I don't really use recipes. I cook mostly from scratch, like my mother did. I'm pretty familiar with most spices and what they taste like, and what they would develop into as you cook them. Sometimes I might have a hit and miss here or there, but that's all a part of learning. So, but I can share what I do know, get you started. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things. Like, say, for instance, maybe cook a butternut squash with some peppermint in it, or some spearmint. Mint tends to taste a little bit different when you're talking about cooking it. It's a herb. Try some things, Try cooking it and not cooking it till it's mushy. Leave a little bit of texture or crunch to it. And season it up with some meat or do some different things with it, man. This is awesome. This is really awesome. It's an awesome food group. it contains a lot of beta carotene. Anything orange tends to have a lot of beta carotene, which is good for your eyes. It's one of the important B vitamins. When you get into that, you're going to be connected to folic acid and vitamin B12 and all these different things, which it would take a scientist to fully explain, but you don't have to understand all that to enjoy the goodness and, the health benefits. So, I don't know if y'all know or not, but I'm just really, really getting off on this. And I got to make myself bring this video to an end because I'm probably going to have a couple of 2 or 3 more in between here. I'm estimating that I want to show how heavy it produces. I have not got to that stage yet because this plant is still not fully matured. It's putting on a lot of male flowers at first. Man, it didn't look like it was going to be any male flowers, The females been here since day one, but they've been just drying up because we know now they will not produce unless they are pollinated. And the female flowers that I had initially, they didn't even get a chance to open up before they withered. So that means that they were not intended to open up. That's just a part of the plant. I don't know, I don't want to offend nobody, but maybe the plant was just a little sassy, wanting to grow up too soon. But the mechanism that needs to be utilized for it to grow up, it's utilizing that. Kind of experimental practice mode, This is just a plant, but I don't take nothing for granted. This plant has been created by an intelligent designer, and it has a lifespan that is directed by the Lord. So you can differ with me if you want to, but I'm growing it here, and I'm proving it to those who are listening and to myself. If you're a God hater, oh well. I really don't have a whole lot of sympathy for you, because I'm just come straight like that. That's the kind of fella I am, confrontational, yeah, that's me. But some things people need to just take a good study, take a good position, and when you find out the truth, let it be, accept it. Whether you want to accept Jesus Christ or not. Some people just hate Jesus. They don't like him. Don't like something about him. I don't like the way you hold your mouth, or I don't like the way you put your robe on. I don't like the color selection. Okay, fine. You can go to hell behind that if you want to. I choose to go ahead and accept what the Lord has done for me.